about 25 turns. My name is Drew Dunford and I work in the marketing and design industry. I'm also a co-founder of a burger concept called GTO. Today I'm going to cook a wild mushroom soup with 5 varieties of mushrooms. I like to cook. So the first thing we're going to do is actually clean all the mushrooms. I use a brush. You just want to get the visible dirt off of them. Starting with the lobster mushrooms. This is the chanterelles. So I learned how to cook from my mom when I was starting at like 4 or 5 years old. She used to cook dinner and I would cook alongside her and try and help and pretend I was in a cooking show. So I really got into it. I made this goal for myself to open a restaurant by the time I was 35. And I sort of achieved that goal last year. Not that we opened a restaurant, but we started our concept. Last year we did seven events. This year we did 6. And we're hoping to open a brick and mortar at the end of next year. And our whole concept is based on like nostalgic fast food. I'm just gonna rinse these ones real quick. I love entertaining, I love hosting. I think having a mindset of like serving your guests is super important. Like when you have people over. I used to be a total stress case, but now I'm more relaxed and you like let the people that come kind of be the focal point. So we've got lobster mushrooms, chanterelles, oyster mushrooms, shiitake mushrooms, and creminis. So next up I'm gonna dice 1 onion, white onion. This is actually a sweet onion, but it's also locally grown. And then, so you wanna do like lateral cuts with the grain, like a dice. And you wanna run your knife through the center, all the way back to where you cut through. Run the knife through. I'm gonna take 2 cloves of BC garlic. So I'm gonna finely chop this garlic. I'm just gonna add them right to the onions because they all go in at the same time. So now that these mushrooms have dried off a little bit, because you want them to be as dry as you can when you're sauteing it, I'm just gonna cut them into about 1.5 inch rough pieces. You can't be afraid of a little bit of dirt when you cook with them. Yeah, I don't think you worry too much about how uniform they are. I think people like get too focused on doing exactly what recipes tell you to do. And I think it's more about like personal interpretation. Whatever your largest pot is, I think using for a soup like this works well. I'm gonna put it on medium heat. But we'll add 1/4 cup of neutral oil. So I'm using canola oil. I've got 1 white onion, and then I've got about 3 or 4 cloves of garlic going in the saute pan. So you want to cook this for about 5 minutes until the onions become transparent. Meanwhile, I'm gonna chop and seed and devein 3 of these cascabel chilies. I think I'm gonna use 4. I'm just gonna chop these in half. Take the seeds out. Depends on the dish. For this dish, you want a more mild chili spice. You want to smell it, right? And you want to look at it. So they're going to become more loose. They're going to become slightly transparent as they cook. You want to wait till they get soft. I like to salt at every stage. So you build the layers of salt. Usually go by feel, which is not very helpful, but. So this dish calls for fresh epazote, and epazote is kind of like a weed. It grows a lot in Mexico, Central America. We don't get it up here, so I'm gonna have to use dry. So I don't want the herbs to be in the soup, I just want to impart the flavor. So I'll actually just put them in this bag. And we're gonna go everybody in the pool with all the mushrooms. Looks like a lot, but it's gonna cook down quite a bit. About 25 turns. So this has to cook down for about 20 minutes. I think I'm gonna actually add the chilies in now, just so we can get a bit more flavor. I'm gonna put the epazote in there as well. Just start getting the flavors going. You're just looking for the texture of the mushrooms to be what you want, which is like a bit of texture, a bit toothsome, but not too much chewing. This is a saute, but it's almost like a braise as well because it draws a lot of moisture out of the mushrooms and it kind of simmers at the bottom of the pot. Everything kind of gets coated in this like beautiful mushroom stock. I'm gonna try one of these lobster mushrooms. So I'm gonna go ahead and add chicken stock. I'm gonna turn the heat up to high, get this to a boil. It's not the greatest audio cue, is it? Give this a quick stir, and we want to bring it up to a boil and then simmer it for another 15 minutes. When the guest's palate hasn't been touched by anything yet, I think it's a really good start to have like a subtle, but with like depth of flavor in a dish like this. Wow, it's good. A little bit more salt. Once it's simmered for about 15 minutes, you want to remove your chilies and then remove your, in my case, satchel of dried herbs. And then you gotta hunt for the chili pieces a little bit. So I'd say this recipe serves about 8, maybe even 10 portions, depending on what else you're serving. I think as a starter, it works really well as a smaller portion. Got my soup ladle, and you just want to get as much of the mushrooms in to really build a beautiful bowl of soup, and then you can add more broth as you like. And you could garnish this with cilantro. You could pour some nice olive oil over top to finish it. In my case, I like the subtle flavors of just the mushroom soup. Because I made the broth myself, it's got a pretty serious depth of flavor. Wow. Delicious.